Hey, everybody. David Swor here once again with DJ Cox for another episode of Frenemies. And DJ, it looks like you're coming live from the circus or either a little league ball field. I'm not sure which. It doesn't look like they play real baseball there. So maybe you can explain what that is in your background.
I'm coming to you from the second most awesome park in the entire world, Fenway Park in Boston. Yes, I am the only one in here right now. I broke through security, but I'm here and I'm hoping that I can last the whole show. I keep looking over my shoulder for security, but I haven't seen anybody yet. So hopefully we can make it through here. But David, I know this is your favorite place in the entire world. Your favorite team plays here. So I was excited to get the opportunity tonight.
Well, DJ, in honor of the supposed ballpark that you're in right now, let's jump into something. This is out of order, but let's go ahead and talk about Dustin Pedroia
Oh
retiring
yeah.
this past week. So I'll just be honest with you, he was one of my most hated Red Sox of all time. I could not stand this guy, but at this all at the same time, I actually really respected him. Man, he just tortured the Yankees for years, and I read a really cool story on him that just describes Dustin Pedroia. I had never heard this. You may have heard this, DJ. So I guess they were playing the Rockies in the playoffs. I don't remember the year. And
2007
2000, you know where I'm going with this.
World Series, but I do not.
So he hits a home run off of Jeff Francis in one of the games. He comes to the ballpark the next day, and security won't let him in because, let's be honest, Dustin Pedroia does not look like a baseball player. And I won't use the language that he used, but he told the security guard to go ask Jeff Francis if he knew who he was. And that is Dustin Pedroia in a nutshell. I actually love that. It's too bad that he had to play for the Red Sox.
That's awesome. And I've actually honestly been waiting all week to know your thoughts on Pedroia. And I guess being a Yankees fan, I can totally see why you would not like Dustin Pedroia. But man, let me tell you, okay. I love Dustin Pedroia. I mean, 5'9", 170, second baseman. He went to Arizona State, that would be my dream college to go play there. What a life you get there. You get to play ball in 100-degree weather every day at Arizona State. And some other cool story I read about him too, David. He gave up his scholarship in college for another player to sign with them to make their team better. Who does
Wow.
that? Honestly, I mean, I just you don't hear that, especially a college student. I mean, I guess he probably knew he was heading to the show to make a lot of money, but still, that's a lot of money to give up. You're probably a full ride for Pedroia, a lot of money to give the team better, and that's a cool story. Sometimes you hear about that in the pros, but you don't ever hear about that happening in college. So that was something really cool. And man, he had a long career, David, from 2006 to 2019. He was actually kind of a part of the team last year too, but he didn't get to play. Three-time World Series champion. Was not really a big part of the 18 team. He was battling a lot of injuries in 18, 19, and 20. And to be honest with you, it's kind of not a surprise at all that he retired. He just couldn't hang on anymore with all the injuries that he had. But he won an MVP. He won Rookie of the Year. Career 299 hitter. Could you imagine? And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. Could you imagine though, David? The difference between 299 and 300 looks a lot. It looks different, like that 1 percentage point. If he was a 300 hitter instead of 299, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
still, that's really cool. 1,805 hits, 140 bombs, 725 ribbies, 365 on base. He played his butt off, man. Fiery little winner. Kike Hernandez is now moving into the second base role for the Red Sox to take his spot. And Kike is one of those kind of players too that you love and just battles. And so yeah, what a career, man. Dustin Pedroia. Nice to lead the show off with that for sure, because this guy's no joke. And I'm not getting crazy here, but I heard a few people saying Hall of Fame, and I hope they were just talking about Red Sox Hall of Fame. But
Wait a minute. I need to ask you, DJ. By your standards, 10 dominant years, he's pretty close.
Yeah.
So So how can you argue against Dustin Pedroia using your standards?
Well, I to be totally honest with you, I didn't break down the 10 years. I looked at the career numbers, so I have to go back and check that out. But to be honest with you too, another point. I mean, we're talking second base here, and that's a whole different animal from other positions. So, if you have a career like that, you're definitely going to get looked at for the Hall of Fame with being a second baseman, and he's not at the same standard of an outfielder, so to speak. So it's going to be interesting, and I
Let me
know
tell
for
you,
sure he's going to be a Red Sox Hall of Famer.
I think he gets in.
You do,
I
huh?
would I wouldn't put him in personally, but he's a beloved figure. Red Sox is a big market, and they're in Boston. A lot of writers are going to be on that train. He was integral to a couple World Series championships there with the Red Sox. He helped break the curse. He won an MVP. He won a Rookie of the Year. You watch DJ. He's going to sneak in 51 WAR in 13 seasons. Supposedly 60 is the Hall of Fame number. It will not surprise me one bit if he gets in the Hall of Fame. Like I said, I'm not putting him in because I do like longevity more than most. He doesn't have any Hall of Fame statistics. 3,000 hits, he's not even close. For a second baseman, 250 homers is a good number. Or more, and he's well below that. So I couldn't put him in. I do, in a way, feel bad because of his injuries, because he was probably headed that direction. But I'm gonna bet he ends up in DJ.
Wow, that's really interesting you'd say that. I don't think he's going to get there, but I think that he's going to get a good look, and we'll see how he lasts on the ballot for sure. It'll be very interesting to see 5 years from now what happens with Pedroia. So, yeah, great career, man. No doubt about it. He'll always be remembered for sure. That 2004 team was incredibly special, and he was obviously one of the main dogs on that team. So, Congratulations, Pedroia, man. Awesome career. Awesome human from everything, and just a gamer, baller. Just he'll go at anybody. Didn't care. He was a feisty little booger, man. He played the game hard, and he didn't back down from anybody. So what a great career for Pedroia.
He also bore a strike to Lee Salyers, although we would never know it because he won't show his face on our podcast. But there was a resemblance there. I used to talk to Lee about that all the time. But well, DJ, this has been a crazy week in baseball. We're getting close to spring training. Thank God we're about a week away. And these signings are dropping one by one, and we have a ton to go through tonight. So why don't you go ahead and give us the Cubs update before we get into that?
You got it, man. So my Cubs update tonight's nothing as far as signings go from the Cubs. Not much really going on. I know there's 2 spots left on the 40-man roster for them to go get a couple guys if they want to in the next couple weeks here before spring training hits. But the only guy I'm going to talk about tonight is Albert Almora, who did sign with the Mets this week to a 1-year deal. I got to watch him grow into a champion, man. This guy came up in Class A, Kane County Cougars, which is a minor league team right up the road here from me, and got to go see him play all the time when the Cubs were their affiliate, which is so cool to have Chicago area affiliates right in your backyard for minor leagues. I wish it would happen more often, to be honest with you. And I wish they still were the Cubs, but they're not. But got to see him a lot. His defense was always there, David. You just worried about his hitting. And he could hit bombs. He could really hit down in the lower levels. But the consistency of it all was what you would wonder about. And it ended up being kind of a problem for him being consistent. But in the top of the 10th inning in Game 7 of the World Series, Almora comes in to pinch run. And Chris Bryant hits a ball deep to right field. And Almora tags from first to second, which ended up being huge as Zobrist knocked him in to score the 7-6 lead in that inning. We got one more run, went up 8-6, and ended up winning 8-7 in Game 7. So that play by Almora is actually really known well from Chicago Cubs fans, because it's very hard to tag up from first base and go to second, no matter where you're at. It was a heads-up play. It was unbelievable to get in scoring position. It might have saved us that game, to be honest with you. And so he was a big part of Game 7, World Series hero. A 26-year-old, played 5 full seasons with the Cubs. Never really was a full-time starter. In 2018, I guess he was about as close as you can come. He played more than normal. He batted 298 in 2017 with 8 bombs and 46 ribbies. And in 2019, 12 bombs and 32 ribbies, a 236 batting average. But last year, he really struggled, David, and he was up and down from the minor leagues, which was kind of hard to believe. But he was bouncing back and forth, and he never really stuck on the big league roster, even defensively. So I hope he gets a fresh start now with the Mets. Wish him nothing but the best. And thanks, Almora, for being a part of something really special with the Cubs. So,
yep, very smart team by the Mets. I think it's a great 4th or 5th outfielder. You know, they needed some help on the defensive end of things, so I like that signing for the Mets. Slow week again with the Yankees. 2 weeks ago, they traded Ottavino in a rare trade with the Red Sox, which saved them about $8 million. But in the meantime, they signed the 38-year-old version of Ottavino for $1 million, or I think 175, which was Darren O'Day. He was on my wish list at the beginning of the year. We need to do that, by the way, DJ, a wish list next year. Let's remember that for the free agency. I wrote down a wish list, and he was on it. The Yankees need some help in that bullpen. He'll be a great guy to come in and get one out here or there, reunites him with Britton. So we got the old Orioles bullpen reunited there. They also signed Kyle Barraclough. Yeah, hard thrower, minor league contract. Had a couple of good years back with the Marlins. Not so good the last couple years. So, like I said, they need help in the bullpen. So I like both of those signings. And I'm looking forward to playing some baseball here in a week or so, DJ.
Barraclough is a sneaky pickup there, man. He was not bad with the Marlins. I did not know that he signed with the Yankees there. I keep forgetting that Zach Britton is in the bullpen there too for the Yankees, man. Those are some sneaky moves. There's no doubt, man. And I really kind of hate to hear that they've kind of loaded up their bullpen a little bit there because, they're a scary team, man. I know you're, kind of iffy on them, but to me, they're a team to beat in the American League for sure.
Well, we'll see. It's all going to ride on that starting pitching. I think the lineup's going to hit. I think the bullpen will be pretty good. Fangraphs picks them to be the second best bullpen behind the White Sox. Yeah, my boys, the White Sox.
I don't get it. So we'll see. I hate that.
Well, DJ, let's stay in the Central. Let's stay in that American League Central. Let's talk about the Twins here for a minute. So they re-signed Nelson Cruz 1 year, $13 million. And in the meantime, they picked up my boy, the underrated Colome. I think that is sneaky, DJ. I know he's not a big strikeout guy, and that's not real sexy, but he has been better than Liam Hendricks over the last few years, and I think that's inarguable. And they got him for 1 year and $5 million. So what do you think about the Twins' moves?
I love it. I absolutely love the Twins this week. They needed Cruz back on a 1 year deal. He can still mash. And David, speaking of Hall of Famers with Pedroia, I mean, how do you keep Nelson Cruz off of your list if he has 1 or 2 more dominant years? I don't know if you can. He's already at like 420 homers, 417. Yep.
Woo. He's got the 10 dominant years, DJ. He's got him. I looked at him today. I had to look it up because I knew this was going to come up. To me, he's still on the outside looking in. But it's getting harder to keep him out because, let's be honest, outside of David Ortiz, he's been the best DH over the last few years.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he can get to 500 homers. That seems like a stretch. But he's real borderline. You could definitely make an argument he should be in.
So 83 away from 500?
The stretch.
And it is a stretch. That's tough. He would have to have 2 more years at 42 and 41. I don't know, man. It's very possible if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, I mean, he hasn't started to go down from the power numbers yet. You know what I mean? So he's kind of there still. If he can do it, he gets 500. You can't keep him out. I mean, there's no way. So, man, that's going to be a lot of fun to see how many he can pop this year. If he can get 40 and then come back 1 more year maybe and get it, that'd be really cool to see because I still think he's in the MVP voting, the last few years here, and he has not shown any signs of slowing down, even though the age is getting up there. And And why not a 1-year deal too? Perfect, man. I love it. I love the Calumet signing. They have a closer now, I believe. They're gonna, stick him at closer. Is that what you're hearing too? Is they're gonna get him closing?
Well, he'll be in the mix, I guess. I believe Taylor Rogers is the other option there. Very good pitcher. I still feel like the Twins are one outfielder away, though, DJ. I think we're underestimating the impact that losing Rosario is going to have. I don't know who all exactly is out there. I know there's guys like Ryan Braun who's out there, some guys along those lines. I'd really like to see the Twins pick up one more guy, another bat. Because right now, I looked at their depth chart today. Jake Cave is their starting left fielder on paper anyway. And I know him from Yankee days, good 4th or 5th outfielder, but shouldn't be in the starting lineup. So to be competitive, I think they'll be competitive with the White Sox, but to be on par with the White Sox, I think they need one more bat.
That's not a bad thought there. I love Max Kepler, Byron Buxton. I think that's 2/3 of a great outfield there. But I do agree that your left fielder's a little shaky there. And man, the Twins are, to me, I know I'm a White Sox hater, but these are the guys that are the team to beat in the AL Central. I really believe that. And so one more thing crazy that kind of came out, and we'll just go over this real quick too, David, that Andrelton Simmons kind of said something, actually pretty scary this week. The new Minnesota Twins shortstop here, just talking about how the pandemic is just wearing on him, and he opted out last year. And a lot of the guys, David, I think when we saw a lot of these guys opt out, we thought they were afraid of the virus. Well, Simmons was kind of in a different boat. He was just kind of struggling really bad with the social part of it, and like the protocols and everything that these guys got to go through. It is absolutely crazy what these guys have to go through. And you're seeing it in hockey right now. You're seeing it in the NBA. I don't know how it doesn't mess with you. Like if you get in contact with somebody or you get it, like you are put in isolation for 14 days away from humans. Like can't see your family. It messes with a lot of these guys. And I think a lot of time, I think the problem, David, is with sports figures and these guys we look up to as great athletes. Sometimes we forget the human part, and that would be hard on me and you, and it's hard on them too. And they're not robots that just go out and play the game with this great skills and then they're just everything goes well in their life. They're not like that. They're humans as well. And it's tough to see this kind of stuff, and it's happening in hockey. A lot of the hockey players are saying this is not right, this is bad, we're struggling mentally. It's sad, man. It really is to see these athletes struggling, with all this as well, just like normal people do. So,
yeah, very sad. We've got to figure out a way to find the happy medium, and maybe with this vaccine, maybe this kind of stuff will slowly but surely start going away. But I do feel sorry for these guys. I feel sorry for these high school kids, man. Can you imagine being in your senior year and finding out you're not going to play baseball? It's terrible, man. Or having to play a shortened season. We've got to figure out a way to get back to some sort of normalcy. And I don't know how you do that. Like I said, hopefully the vaccine will bring us there. But I do feel for these players, man. It would be very hard. They're away from their families enough, and I know they're getting paid a lot of money to do that. But like you said, to be isolated from them for that long, not cool, man. And that time is time you can't get back. So I do feel really sorry for Simmons and all those players that are having to go through all that.
Yeah. So I actually too, like with the high school kids you talked about too, I've actually had a couple seniors come up to me and say they're not playing this year because they don't want to go through all the protocols. Like they don't want it makes it not fun for them. It really, and that's really hard to hear, because these guys have been playing their whole life and they come up to their senior year. They just don't want to do it. It's not fun to them. They don't want to, worry about if they're messing around and then their mask slips off and they get yelled at, or if they can't stay 6 feet from somebody, they get yelled at. And it's hard, man, and it's definitely taking a toll on high school sports as well with athletes. Numbers are down across the country for sports, whether people are not wanting to play because of it or just not having fun. It's really sad. It's affecting all levels of baseball from high school, college to the pros. So like you said, man, I hope we can figure this out really quick and get back to normal because it's been crazy, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, DJ, we had a couple big free agents fall this week, and the main one was our boy Trevor Bauer. So he signs a 3-year contract with the Dodgers, huge money with opt-outs in year 1 and 2. And so, first of all, DJ, what do you think about the Bauer contract? This is interesting to me. And I heard some guys on radio comparing, the Albert Pujols contract or the Giancarlo Stanton contract to this style contract, and wondering what players are going to start going for. Bauer, had he signed a longer deal, would have got less money per year. So if you're in Bauer's shoes, do you take a 6 or 7 year deal somewhere at maybe 20, 25 million? Or are you taking 45 million over 3 years?
I think he's genius for what he's doing here. I mean, the money he's getting, the opt-out options he has, he's got it all in his hands, man. If he dominates these next couple of years and he goes and gets another massive deal like he's got from some other team, instead of locking into a team for less money, it's really smart. It's really smart. And his free agency, David, was very unique, to say the least. Like, he was very, very, vocal about it on social media. He was very out there. He was having fun with it, I guess. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way. There's no doubt about that. He just kind of has a different personality about him. He does a lot of things on the field that I don't agree with. He's kind of goofy in a lot of ways, with the way he shows people up and everything. But they just made an unbelievable move. When you got Clayton Kershaw, who, let's be honest, is their number 3 pitcher right now, behind Bauer and Buehler. I don't know where you go 1 and 2 with those 2 horses. It's unbelievable. And the thing too that David, I like about this deal too for the Dodgers is not really locking into a 6 or 7 year deal, which is very risky with pitchers. They got him at a 3-year deal, and you compare like the career of, and this is going to sound crazy, but Tanner Roark, okay, he's a local guy here, and Trevor Bauer. I had a chance. I looked up both of their stats, David. It's scary how close their career stats are. So this guy is Trevor Bauer, 75 and 64. Roark is 76 and 67. The ERA for Bauer is 3.90. The ERA for Tanner is 3.83. Okay. So Bauer only has 3 seasons with a under 3.99 ERA in his career, and 5 of his 9 seasons have a winning record. So he hasn't really been consistent, to be honest with you, in his whole career. He's had a few years where he's absolutely dominated, no doubt, but the consistency has not been there for Bauer. So that's the one thing that worries me a little bit with this. But at 3 years, and the Dodgers have monopoly money, so I don't even care about that part of it. I think it's great. I really do. And I think that the Dodgers countered a lot of the Padres moves. So this is very, very intriguing. Awesome. And David, another thing too, David Price is back too. I'm not a big David Price guy, but he's in the mix. Dustin May is your 5. And you got Julio Urias, the World Series hero. You got 6 legit starters. And Tony Gonsolin, who started a lot last year, is definitely in the bullpen. But you got 6 guys to find 5 spots there. That is a loaded 6-man rotation there. So these guys just got way better. It's unbelievable. I could not believe it. And David, here's the other part I want to talk about this real quick. And I almost did this. Okay. The morning Bauer was about to sign, like 4 hours before it broke, I just had a huge gut feeling that he was going to the Dodgers. And I really, I'm being completely honest about this. So I was this close to posting that Frenemies is going to be the first to report that Trevor Bauer is heading to the Dodgers. I was that close to doing that. And sure enough, man, 4 hours later, it started blowing up. I'm like, doggone it, I blew my opportunity. We would have got legit status. People would have been like, how'd this guy know? What in the world? Who's his sources? Oh, man, I swung and missed on that one big time, man. So I was a little bummed about that.
Man, that would have been – we need to pull something like that. That's how we can get discovered or whatever. Like you said, they'll know something. I feel a little different, I guess, about the Bauer signing. Number one, it was a smart thing for the Dodgers. Like you said, they have monopoly money. It definitely counters the Padres. I think their rotation is better than the Padres. I'm still not convinced that their team is at this point. But we'll see about that. But I think Bauer, kind of game the system, man, for exactly the reason you said. He's only really been great 2 years of his career, and the rest of it's been real mediocre. And somehow he's built his brand enough where a team was willing to give him $40-45 million. So good for him, I guess, is all I can say. The Dodgers are unbelievable. That rotation is unbelievable. That Dodgers-Padres matchup is going to be a blast all summer. I can't wait.
Yes, it is.
It's going to be unbelievable.
Yep.
So, DJ, another big free agent fell this week, and that is Marcell Ozuna going back to the Braves. And, DJ, it's amazing to me how So, DJ, Marcell Ozuna back to the Braves. It's amazing to me how the salaries have seemed to have fallen this year. So 5 years and I believe $85 million if they pick up the option for Ozuna. Ozuna came real close to winning a Triple Crown. It doesn't seem like that long ago he'd have been making $20-25 million in a 6-7 year contract. So what do you think about the Braves getting Ozuna back?
This keeps him the favorite in the NL East, in my opinion. It honestly does. I was a little worried if they didn't get him, how their offense would be, but he fills a major hole there. And David, I guess the one thing that I'm really surprised about this, I guess I thought Ozuna was a little older than he is. He's 29 years old.
I know.
My goodness, man. When he signed the 4 or 5 year deal, I'm thinking, isn't he like 33? And he's not even close to that. Like he's 29 years old. So this is even more of a great signing with that age that he's got. He's got 166 bombs and like 600 ribbies in 8 years. Batted 276 for his career with a 335 on base. I love it. I'm totally shocked he's only 29 years old. I just guessed from all the years he's been with the Marlins and up in the pros since he was 22, I guess, is kind of why he came up really young. But I just thought he was a lot older than he was. So great signing by the Braves.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, the two best hitters in baseball, two of the best hitters in baseball last year, LeMahieu and Ozuna, both get about $15 million a year. Like I said, this is just crazy. Trevor Bauer gets $45 million, and these guys get 15. So it's nuts to me. But great job by the Braves. They had to have him back. That division is ultra competitive. I agree with you. They're probably still the favorites in that division, but not by much. The Mets are right there. The Marlins are close by. The Phillies have gotten better, I think, this year. The Nationals have gotten a little bit better. So that's going to be an awesome division. All this talk about this stuff, man, really pumping me up. The Padres, the Dodgers, and that great division. The Yankees and the Blue Jays, I think, are going to be battling. So it's going to be super interesting. The White Sox are going to be dominating Chicago baseball. And so that's going to be interesting to see how you handle that this year. No, I'm just
Stop
kidding. So let's go to one of your favorite teams here, DJ. The Angels have been moving and shaking this offseason, man. So they made a couple moves. They picked up Alex Cobb. They had to trade a good prospect to get him, but the Orioles have agreed to pay $10 million of his $15 million contract. They also picked up Dexter Fowler this year for a bucket of baseballs and Logan's Roadhouse gift card. And the Cardinals, the crazy thing is, are paying all of his salary except for $1.25 million. I don't even know who their GM is. I don't know his name, but I think he has made genius moves this year. Most of these guys were had on 1 year contracts. They filled holes. I'm not saying that I think they're going to be like, a great team or whatever, but I got to think in that division, they've got to be favorites at this point, wouldn't you say, DJ?
Yeah, I'm still not buying the A's. I think they're going backwards, and I really believe the Angels are moving forward. These are great moves, and I was a little surprised when it came through, David, and we talked about this earlier today. I was like, how in the world with what in the world are they doing with Brandon Marsh and Joe Adele? Because they got two prospects that are studs in the outfield. And so I was a little confused by the move, but then you were telling me that Madden is kind of, they want to groom them guys a little bit more down in the minors, and Dexter's kind of filling the hole until they get there. And he's a great guy to learn from. He's a great team player. Joe Madden loves him, obviously, so he had a big hand in this. There's no doubt about that, bringing his guy back in. Because Dex almost walked with the Cubs one time, and Madden didn't want any part of that. And in spring training, here comes Dexter running up into the team huddle, and people are turning around like, wait, what? And so he just signed him again for it was really cool. And he just can't get away from him. Obviously, he's a team player. But yeah, man, I love the move if that's what you're doing. I thought Adele played really well last year at times, but he did struggle at times. Same with Marsh. So this makes sense for them to go with Trout and Upton in the outfield. You also have Taylor Ward, who's battling for time out there in the outfield too. So it's a crowded outfield, but Dex can definitely fill one of those spots. So you got a lot of guys battling there, but David, nobody is battling for center field because that's the greatest player in the world out there in center. So
Right.
he's got that spot locked up. And then the rest of them are kind of wide open right now. And it looks like Otani's going to DH again and maybe possibly pitch. So, yeah, I love it, man. Cobb, I'm not too sure about. We'll see. I think they got him plugged in as their fourth starter now. But like he said, man, Baltimore pretty much paid them to take him away. So if you're going to do that, maybe he'll catch it up. And he pitched well with Tampa when he was there. So if he can get back to the Tampa Cobb, he'd be good. But we'll see.
Pitched pretty good, really last year as well. I mean, on a bad team, he pitched pretty well, kind of rebuilt some value. And the Angels now have like 6 pretty good starters if you include Otani in there. I mean, not. I guess you could call what's your boy's name, the top of the rotation guy there?
Dylan Bundy, baby.
Dylan Bundy. You could call him an ace, but after that, you got Canning and Quintana and Haney. And now Cobb and Otani. But that's a pretty good rotation, man. And like I said, I was a pretty big fan of the A's last year, but they have stepped back a little bit this year for sure. So I think the Angels, we'll see when we do the preview how we feel about it further. But I think the Angels have taken a big step forward getting Iglesias this year. That was a big deal. But let's stay in that division, DJ. So there was a interdivision trade this week, a real interesting one between the Rangers and the A's. The Rangers got their shortstop since Semien has signed, and the A's picked up the Rangers picked up Chris Davis. And so what do you think about that trade? Kind of wacky.
David, this is one of the wackier trades of the offseason. I really believe this. When you saw the 2 players that were getting swapped, it just didn't really – I was trying to think in my head before I broke it down a little bit. I'm trying to think how this works more from the Rangers' perspective getting Davis. I knew Oakland had a big hole losing Semien at short and that they didn't want to go forward with Chad Pinder as their starting shortstop. Nothing against him, but that's not who you want opening day for shortstop is Chad Pinder and Tony Kemp's up your middle. So that was a good move as far as getting somebody in there. I think Andrus is on the downside of his career, which kind of makes it not that sexy of a move, to be honest with you. Chris Davis, I looked on Fangraphs, does not even look like a starter for the Rangers right now. I don't know how they're going to work him in, but he can mash, man. I mean, the guy hits home runs. There's no doubt about it. He hits 247 every year. I don't know how he does that. I think he did it 4 years in a row. It's crazy. 247. And then he just hits bombs. And I think he had a really bad year this year. And you were telling me about that today. So talk a little bit about Davis's year this year, David.
So, again, this is hearsay. I heard this on MLB Network, that not only were the A's protecting his bats against righties, but they were protecting him against lefties too. They're only letting him hit against certain lefties. And so he had really fallen out of favor there for whatever reason. And I'm like you, I don't really understand this from the Rangers' perspective. I mean, kudos to them for doing a solid and sending Elvis Andrus where he could play. He wasn't going to play for the Rangers. They made that obvious. And so I do respect him for doing that. I don't know how the money exchanged out. I think Andrus has signed a little bit longer, but maybe it's the same amount per year. So I don't get it at all from the Rangers' perspective. They seem to be going backwards at this point. But, a decent move by the A's to fill that hole. So we'll see. I mean, the A's are still interesting, man. They have all those young guys. I do think this is a backwards move.
But David, now their DH, now that Chris Davis is gone, is Seth Brown, who is Mr. and Mrs. Brown's kid. That boy, he's got no home runs and 13 ribbies in his career in 2 seasons. So maybe they're thinking he's going to be the guy. He's 28 years old. I don't know. Maybe they think he's going to crack the lineup. You got Tony Kemp starting in that lineup too. You got 2 really big holes there. I don't know, man. We'll see.
We'll see. DJ, let's hop over into the Central, the NL Central. There was a couple things that happened there this week. Shockingly, the Reds pick up Sean Doolittle to put in that bullpen. Not a big contract. He's not been very good really the last couple years. But it's interesting because I think the Reds are done. Like, I don't think Sonny Gray's going anywhere. And if you look at the Reds on paper, they're still good, man. The Reds are still very good. And so I don't know. We'll see when the previews come out. I might put them at the top of the division still.
Oh, no. Come on.
It's close. I mean,
there's something.
Their lineup is – I know they didn't hit last year, but Votto, Moustakas, I can't think of the dude that's playing third for them, Suarez. The guy they got in the outfield from the Tigers or actually played for the Cubs there for a minute. I can't think of his name. They got some players is what I'm getting at.
Castellanos. Yep.
Castellanos, yeah. They're pitching. They still have Luis Castillo and Sonny Gray at the top. That's better than anybody the Cubs got. That's better than anybody the Cardinals got. I mean, as far as top two. So I think the Reds are still kind of sneaky.
They are so hard to figure out, David. And they were the hardest team for me to figure out last year too. I mean, I knew they had a good team. They were the 7 seed. They snuck into the playoffs. Had a horrible game against the Braves and were out. But man, yeah, I'm not completely bashing you for that move. I really am not, because I'm not sold at all by the Cardinals or the Brewers. So if you're gonna tell me a team's gonna contend with the Cubs, I can respect that it's the Reds. I really can. And the Pirates might lose to a bunch of AAA teams, so they're pretty much out of it. So, yeah. So I don't know, man. I really do not like Sean Doolittle as a person. I can't stand him. I want to punch him in the face if he's a teammate of mine. But he's had a pretty decent career. I was looking at his numbers. I was kind of surprised at how good he actually was a few of those years here recently. So it's a sneaky move, man. And like you said, man, they didn't completely break this down, and it was so weird because so many of their guys like Suarez and Castillo and Gray were all rumored to be gone, and they kept hold of them. And I guess that's probably what's been wearing me down on the Reds, David, is I've been hearing all that. But you're right, man, it really hasn't happened. So they've got a lot of studs on that team still, and I guess you just set me straight on them a little bit, no doubt.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I want to believe in them. They didn't totally prove that they were worthy of that last year. They lost Bauer, which is not helpful. But I'm telling you, man, that it's wide open. And so let's jump over to the Brewers. The Brewers did something kind of crazy this week. They got Colton Wong, former Cardinals second baseman, who, to be honest with you, I didn't realize he's been as good as he has been. Colton Wong is a very good player, defensively and offensively. So they're moving him to second. Keston, I can't say his name, Huira, I believe, is moving to first. That's what I heard on the radio today. So that's going to be interesting. I think there's no way that the Brewers didn't get better here, since Dan Vogelbach was going into the year as their first baseman. He'll now move to a bench role. So what do you think about the Brewers picking up Colton Wong?
I'm jealous. We were talking about wish list earlier. Remember we were talking about that? We got to remember to do that next off season. But from the beginning, I've been telling you I wanted Colton Wong to be a Chicago Cub. Defensively, a stalwart, really. That guy gets around at second base. He flows, man. He's got great hands, like Casey Caldwell, our former teammate. Casey Caldwell, to this day, has the best hands of anybody I've ever played with. And that's a lot like what Colton Wong has at second base, too. Just crazy hands like that. Get to any ball. He's a sneaky hitter, too, David. And I love the signing by the Brewers. It's kind of out of nowhere, really. I didn't even – like, me and you would go back and forth on these free agents as to where we thought they were signed. I didn't even think for 1 second. I thought the A's should have got him, David, to replace Tony Kemp. I don't know what they were thinking. The Cubs, too, I'm telling you. And you know what I was thinking about a little bit today, too, though, David? And this is just a little add-on to the Cubs a little bit, because, second base is maybe a hole for us, but I don't know, man. If you stick David Bodie at second base, David Bodie led the Cubs in RBI last year, and he needs to play, man. You got Brian at third, stick Bodie at second. His defense isn't like Colton Wong. There's no doubt, not even close. And Nico Horner is probably a better defensive second baseman too, but David Bodie needs to be in that lineup some way, shape, or form. With no DH in the NL this year, he's got to play second. You got to get that bat in the lineup. So I really, really, really hope that Bodie is our second baseman. Just kind of off the topic a little bit there, but since we didn't get Colton Wong, I guess that's what the Cubs are going to do right there. So hopefully that's what's happened.
Yeah, that division is very competitive. I don't know if there's a World Series team in that bunch, but it's gonna be interesting, man. There's gonna be at least 3 teams fighting it out. You could argue that the Brewers, should be in that mix as well. So we'll see. We'll see. Chris Archer, DJ, back to the Rays. So what do you think about that move?
So this reminds me a lot of what the Yankees did to the Cubs. Hey, you want Aroldis Chapman? Give us Gleyber Torres. And now we're going to take Aroldis Chapman and bring him back. The Rays just did the same thing. Give us Tyler Glasnow. Give us Austin Meadows. And, we're going to bring Archer right back. It's kind of like that thing, to a lesser extent, obviously. But I don't know. Can Archer find it again? Sure. He's got talent. He throws the ball really hard. I'm not so sure he's going to find it again. But when you leave the Pirates, you got to get better. I mean, you just naturally have to get better. So, I mean, he's got to get better than what he was. And it's a sneaky move by the Rays. It makes a little bit of sense. There were some holes there with the guys that left. And he's familiar with the Rays organization, and I don't know. It's a sneaky move. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, so I do feel bad on one hand for Chris Archer. He's coming back from, I believe, thoracic outlet syndrome, which is very hard to come back from. And so, honestly, I think his chances of being anything like he was are very, very slim. But, man, the Rays need pitching very badly. And honestly, let's go ahead and talk about some rumors here, DJ. So, there's still some good pitchers left out on the market. And I'm telling you, the Rays need one of these guys, either Taijuan Walker, Odorizzi. They know him very well. They could re-sign him. You got James Paxton. That would be an interesting signing for them. I really believe that the Rays can still be competitive. They just need a little more pitching, and I believe they need one of these guys. What are you hearing on the pitching that's on the market right now?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of guys that we had on the market here, and there's some teams that are popping up on all of them, and the Phillies are one of them.
Yeah,
Phillies keep popping up on the radar for all these guys, and the rumors I'm reading, all the guys you just mentioned, they're all being looked at by the Phillies right now. Even Trevor Rosenthal, to a closer extent, he's the best closer left out there. So yeah, Taijuan Walker, all connected to the Phillies. Jake Arrieta is the only one on there not connected to the Phillies. He was just there. But all the other guys, man, the Phillies are on the market for them. I've seen with Paxton, I've also seen the Cardinals and the Blue Jays. The Cardinals, like we talked about, they need more pitching. And if they got Paxton, I mean, they're not going to be super great or anything, but that'll definitely boost their rotation up. So, yeah, those are the teams I'm mainly hearing. Even the Cardinals on Odorizzi as well. So, Cardinals and Phillies seem to be the teams that are going after him. And David, I heard this too. You'll be interested in this one. The Yankees are eyeballing Rosenthal. I read that today, so we'll see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising. The Yankees trust their bullpen the way it is constructed right now. I think it got better with O'Day, but I hadn't heard Rosenthal. I don't know how they would pay for him is the only thing. I think they're only about $5 or $6 million under the cap, so I'm not sure how they would make that work. I was going to ask you about an interesting rumor that I heard this week. What about Jake Arrieta back to the Cubs?
I thought you were going to bring this one up too. I did hear that as well. Let me set the bar straight right here. Jake Arrieta, for those 2 or 3 years that he pitched for the Cubs, I don't think that there was a better stretch run than by any pitcher in Cubs history than Jake Arrieta's 2 or 3 year stretch there with the Cubs. He dominated. He was unbelievable. He was the best pitcher in the game there that 1 year for sure. He was awesome. I just am not sold anymore, David. I think the gas tank is gone on him. I think he's done, man. I really do. Do I like him better than Trevor Williams? Maybe. That'd be interesting to see. But as much as I love Arrieta, I'm just not buying it, man. There's something about it that I just don't think he's got anymore. And
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong. It's a 4.5 or to a 5 ERA if he comes to the Cubs, and I don't want that. And I don't want him coming back and struggling, hurting his legacy as a Cub a little bit. I just don't think it's a good fit. I really don't. If he came and he signed, would I love it? I would love it, yeah, but I just don't think he'd produce.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, Arrieta actually was rumored to the Yankees at one point too this offseason, which I think that's doors closed on that. But for some team that was just needing some innings, Arrieta would be worth a flyer. I've seen some pitchers get some crazy contracts. I saw Chase Anderson this week, DJ, get $4 million from the Phillies. That blows my mind. He hasn't been for a long time. So anyway, it'll be interesting. Justin Turner's still out there, DJ. So this is kind of surprising. This is obviously a big stare down. But it's making me start to think that there's a decent chance he doesn't go back to the Dodgers. What are you hearing on Justin Turner?
I've heard the Brewers are sneaking in. I've heard the Braves, if they're not sold on Austin Riley, might jump in. And I've heard the Dodgers, But David, I'm a little worried, and I've been calling Dodgers from the beginning here, but what's the holdup if the Dodgers are actually after him? It's a little weird that it hasn't happened yet because the Dodgers are throwing monopoly money around, and this guy was a huge part of the team last year in the World Series, and you would think he'd be signed by now. So I honestly would love to be a fly on the wall where his agent is talking about what's going on with him because for him to not be signed at this point is still kind of shocking to me, and it could be another team. I'm starting to think that he might leave. The longer it goes on, it's starting to seem less and less likely that he'll be a Dodger, and that's kind of hard to believe. So
It is. And I think it's the fourth year that's getting the Dodgers. But I think they're willing to go 3 from what I'm hearing. And, Justin Turner's a lot older than you think he is. I'm thinking he's 36 or 37.
37.
I don't blame him for not throwing the fourth year in there personally.
Yep.
But I don't really see anybody else doing it either. Unless a team like the Braves just thinks that's what's going to put them over the edge. And it might with the Braves, to be honest with you. It might. And did you hear, DJ, the Braves made money last year somehow?
What?
The Braves made money last year. And so maybe the Braves throw caution into the wind, sign Turner. If they do, they're as good as anybody, man. They're as good as anybody. They still have a few holes here or there, but they've done a good job filling those with Charlie Morton and getting Ozuna back. I'm not sure about the Drew Smiley signing. I think back to Rosenthal. I think the Braves need Rosenthal. They're losing Melanson, and they lost another Shane Green, I believe, is a free agent as well. So I think Rosenthal would look good with the Braves, but it's pretty interesting. Something's going on with Justin Turner. I'm not sure what it is exactly either, but something's going on there. Let's see here, DJ. I believe that is Jackie Bradley Jr. Let's talk about that. So that's another one that's kind of strange. He's been rumored to the Mets like all year, and it hasn't happened yet. I actually saw a rumor today that says there's a possibility he ends up back with the Red Sox. What are you hearing about Jackie Bradley?
I'm hearing all Mets. That's all I'm reading on Bradley too. I'm with you on that, and I don't know. I guess for a little while there too, before Jock Peterson, I guess, was signed, the Cubs were in on him too, and that didn't happen. So, the Mets are looking like they're in on him. That'd be a crowded outfield, I guess you could say, especially with no DH in the National League this year. What they would do with all those guys swinging them around, I don't know. I'm not sure if that makes any sense anymore with them just signing Almora. But even when they signed Almora, I still heard Mets. So that's interesting to me that they're going to go that deep with the outfields. They got a lot of guys out there right now. So obviously maybe one of those guys that they have there currently, they're not really sold on. And maybe they're, just loading up in the outfielders, I'm not really sure what they're doing there. But I don't think he's going back to the Red Sox. I really don't. Not with the moves that they've made. I really don't think that there's a spot for him anymore. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to him too.
Yeah. We'll see. I've heard Astros is a spot for Bradley, and I think that's interesting because they don't have anybody in center field.
Right.
And so that would be interesting. The Giants, I saw as a favorite for him as well. So Jackie Bradley is obviously a great fielder. I'm a little skeptical of his bat, but he fits a lot of places, would help a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then one minor note, DJ, that happened this week. I used to love this guy, but King Felix to the Orioles. Now, DJ, King Felix might have 10 dominant years. I haven't looked it up. We're going to have to talk about this at some point, but, he pretty much just fell off the cliff. But he was definitely on a Hall of Fame path What do you think about King Felix to the Orioles?
You know what, man? Why not? That's kind of what I think. With the Orioles, why not? Why would they not take a guy like this? Hope he could come back and pitch somewhat decent. I mean, they've got really nothing. They used 482 starters last year, so they might as well just pick somebody in there and if he can stay healthy and get him some innings, then so be it. But you got to have some guys to put some butts in the seats, and he's a guy that can do that. He really does. I mean, when he was with the Mariners, he had a whole section of fans just for him. I'm not sure he'll get that at Camden, but that man drew a ton of fans in Seattle. So we'll see if he can get some seats, guys in the seats at Camden, and it's a name. They need names. They need a few names, and I don't know if he can regenerize his career or not. He was on a Hall of Fame path. He was dominant there for a long time with the Mariners. He was almost like the face of the Mariners there for a while too. To be honest with you, if you throw Ichiro out, I guess, then he's the guy. And it's crazy, man. But he's really, really fell off a cliff, man. It's kind of like the Andrew Jones thing. Just boom, fell off a cliff when he hit a certain age and hasn't been able to recuperate. So we'll see. Why not? Makes sense.
It's interesting, DJ, because last year the rumor was King Felix looked good enough that he was going to make that rotation. So he still has something left in the tank. So we'll see. Yep. We'll see. Last note on current news or whatever. Josh Phegley retired this week. DJ, I know he spent his last year with the Cubs. Tell us a little bit about Josh Phegley.
2013 to 2020, he had an 8-year career. He was a 5'10", 225-pound catcher. Came up with the White Sox, was kind of known as an A for the most part, and ended with the Cubs here last year. Didn't get much playing time for the Cubs, but the guy had a good career. He he's not going to be that greatly missed by the numbers. Good year in 2019. He had 62 ribbies in 2019 with the A's, so that's good production from a catcher. And then came back with the Cubs where he hit 063, 1 home run, 2 RBIs in 11 games. So he didn't really go out on a good note. I think David, it's really hard to be a catcher, as you know. And if you last 7 or 8 years in the major leagues as a catcher, great job, man, because that is a demanding physical position. And it's just not one of those things that people last at for a very long time. I'd be very curious to see what the life expectancy of a catcher is in the pros for the average amount of years that they stay in there. It's not much. It's kind of like a football player, to be honest with you. They have about a 6-year career if they're lucky, and they're out. And catchers are kind of the same way. Yadier Molina and these guys that stick around forever. That's not normal for a catcher and to be catching that long too. Most of these guys will move to a different position if they're good, but to actually catch for 7 or 8 years, got to hand it to him, and he talked about in his retirement speech, he talked about wanting to do other things and just wanted to hang out with his family more, and that's a lot of this family thing was taken away from people in 2020, and it didn't sit well with a lot of people, and he just wanted to spend more time with his family and see what else life had to offer. So good career, Josh, and good luck to you in retirement, man.
Absolutely. Well, final parts, DJ. Had a few deaths in MLB this week. Grant Jackson was the player that I had. He played parts of 18 seasons in the majors, played for Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York, Pittsburgh, Montreal, and Kansas City, mostly as a reliever. He died this week at 78 of COVID complications. He played on 3 World Series teams with the 71 Orioles, 76 Yankees, and 79 Pirates. 79 career saves. He made an all-star team and was 86 and 75 with a 3.46 ERA. So great career, and rest in peace to Grant Jackson.
Yeah, I believe too, David. I'd read something that he won Game 7 of the 1979 World Series. He was a winning pitcher, which is, I mean, wow. You're the winning pitcher in Game 7 of the World Series. Wow. So yeah, he really did have a great career. Definitely rest in peace to him. What a career that was, no doubt. My 2 guys were actually former Cubs. Hy Cohen was a Cub in 1955. 0-0 with a 7.94 ERA in his career, 7 games pitched, 1 career start, 17 total innings. Then he became a PE teacher and a baseball coach at Birmingham, California High School, where he coached his team to 2 city titles and coached into his 80s. Man, he was in there for a very long time as a coach. So he spent 1952 and 1953 in the Army. So that cost him 2 seasons in the minors, and then you gotta have that. That hurt his career. It really did, and ended up finally making the show 3 years later in 55, but only for a cup of tea. And what a great life when you can be in the Army, serve your country, you can play professional baseball, you can be a PE teacher and coach high school baseball. That's a great life, man. So really cool life that he had, and rest in peace to High. And Wayne Terwillinger, that's a tough name to say. They call him Twig, which is a cool nickname. I guess he was really skinny. 1949 to 1960 with the Cubs. From 1949 to 1951. Played second base, 22 career homers, 240 batting average, 501 career hits. Also played with the Dodgers, Washington, the New York Giants, and the KC A's. Was a backup to Jackie Robinson in 1951. So that's pretty cool. He said he hit 240 in his career. If he would have hit 240 in today's game, he said he would have made $1.5 million doing it. He didn't make that when he was playing. But he was also a coach under Tom Kelly, David, with the 1987 and 1991 Twins. So he won 2 World Series rings too as a coach. So rest in peace to 2 former Cubs we lost this week. And that's about it as far as deaths this week. So
DJ, we got some really interesting things going on with our podcast. You're not going to want to miss next week. We've got former Temple standout Dusty Childress. He also played in the minors with the Mets. We're going to have our Royals update. And then, courtesy of Micah Miller, we're going to unveil the Frenemies logo. So you won't want to miss next week. Thank you for tuning in this week to all our fans, all 8 of you or whatever you are. We appreciate you. And please share this podcast with your friends and help us get famous. Right, DJ?
You got it, man. That's what we're in it for.
We all have a good week. We're 1 week away from spring training, so looking forward to reviewing the Royals next week.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.